A very good afternoon to all my beloved first semester students of the Department of Business Administration. I hope all of you are doing well and I hope you are in good health. So before the commencement of the even semester exams in GC College, I have made a commitment that I will upload some videos which will contain the discussions of the topics which are included in your syllabus. So here I am. Generally what I do or what I have done during the pandemic times also is that I upload video which contains the discussion of the notes that I supply to the students in an appropriate platform. Generally, the appropriate platform would be a WhatsApp group. And I upload this particular video in YouTube. I also share the link of the video with the students. I instruct the students to go through the notes and also listen to the discussion, because listening to the discussion would facilitate the understanding of the students regarding the notes. So I have done the same thing over here. You will see that I have shared the notes with you in a PDF file. And this video, or the link of the video that I have shared with you, will contain the discussion of the same notes. So please ensure that you listen to the discussion and you also go through the notes. So I also believe that all of you are aware regarding the subjects that you are studying in the first semester. Fundamentals of management and organizational behavior is a subject that I take up in college. I started with Unit 3, Organizational Behavior. I have completed till the process of perception. Unit 3 is not complete. I will wait till the college reopens, because the technicalities of organizational behavior or the subject organizational behavior is such that the physical presence of the students is required for a better understanding of the subject. Therefore, let us keep the discussions of organizational behavior in halt for now and wait for the college to reopen. So what I have decided is, I will start with the first unit of another subject, which is business communication. Business accounting is a subject that is taken up by Rajdeep sir. Ethics and corporate social responsibility is a subject that is taken up by your Manisha madam. When she completes the third unit of ethics and corporate social responsibility, I will take up the fourth and the fifth unit. So there is another subject which is called business communication. What I have decided that in this particular break, the unsolicited break that we have got, because the classrooms are occupied on account of the exams being held in the college, I have decided that in this particular break, that means before the puja vacation, I will complete the first unit of business communication. So if you recall the things that I have mentioned in the class, then probably you will remember that I have said that management is an interdisciplinary subject. The subjects that are included in management have borrowed concepts from different fields. For example, I have told that ethics and corporate social responsibility is a subject that has borrowed concepts from philosophy. Accounts and management are subjects that have largely borrowed concepts from economics. This particular subject that I'm referring to, business communication, has borrowed concepts from psychology. So you need to understand that this particular subject will contain certain intricacies and jargons, which you have to understand as it is. I hope that you know what jargon means. Jargon means that the meaning of a particular term is specifically used for that particular subject. The subject changes, the meaning of the term will also change. So I will share the screen with you. Please pay attention. I have made a PPT presentation for you as well. So here I go. What I'll do is I will enlarge the slides for you. So in the first unit, the first part of the first unit contains the concept of business communication, features of business communication, and the process. So please pay attention. Now, the word communication has been derived from a Latin word called communis, which means something in common. Now, what is in common that we are referring to over here? Something in common means that whenever there is a communication, I hope you can understand that there is a person who will send a message and there would be a person who will receive the message. The commonness in communication is that both have agreed to enter into this process of communication. But the word communication, although has been derived from the Latin word communis, which means something in common, but apart from commonality, there are concepts of transfer, meaning, and information also. You know, management is a subject, and the subjects which are included in management are evolutionary in nature. Therefore, there would always be a disagreement regarding the exact definition of different terminologies. Here I have mentioned that there is a wide disagreement in the communication theorists regarding the definition of it because the context in which the word is used changes. So when the context changes, the meaning would also undergo a change. But it is used as a process which involves various elements through which two or more persons will share meanings amongst themselves. Now, sometimes it is also used as a particular element. Say, for example, I tell to you, to any one of you in the class, that please communicate the message to someone. Now, when I say this, here I am actually referring the message to be the whole communication. Some say that a particular element is the communication. Some say that the whole process or the communication is actually a process which includes many elements. Now, a person whose name is Gans, he had analyzed 95 definitions of communication, and he had arrived that concept of communication is very loose, and it includes contradictory components also. That means different definitions of communication that has been presented contains components which are contradictory to each other. But what he did, he attempted to define communication in this way. Communication is defined as the process by which people will seek to share meanings via the transmission of symbolic messages. Now here, the word symbolic message is the jargon that I am actually referring to. I have told that it will contain certain jargons. Now, what actually do you mean by symbol in communication? Symbol basically means a way by which the message that is actually in the mind of the sender is expressed. Now, this can either be in the form of words or this can be in the form of gestures. For example, in the class, the students are making noise. A teacher arrives at the class and puts his finger in his lips. Now, here he does not make use of any words, but he has made use of a gesture which is meaningful. That means that he wants to communicate to the students that they should not yell at the class and they should be silent. So here, putting the finger at the lips or the gesture is the symbol. But say, for example, this particular conversation that I am having with you, or it is actually not a conversation, it is a one-way conversation. So this particular, deliberation of the lecture that I am making, here also I am making use of symbol. But this particular symbol are the words by which I am trying to express myself. So from management point of view, communication is the process through which two or more persons will come to exchange their ideas and understanding amongst themselves. Now, this includes three features. One is there is something that is being transmitted. Now, what is transmitted is not predefined or is not absolute. It can either be an information, it can be idea, it can be feelings, it can be an emotion. So basically, it is said that something is being transmitted. Now, what exactly is transmitted is not specified. It is just a subject matter that is being transmitted. The subject matter can be anything. Say, for example, there is you come across a person with whom you are acquainted. Now you give a smile to the person. This particular smile is also an emotion that you transmit to the receiver. Now, in order that the process of communication must be completed, two parties are involved. One is the sender and one is the receiver. Now, the sender of the message must consider the receiver while he is structuring the message. For example, I am actually delivering a lecture to you. I am making use of symbols, which is in the form of words. Now, say for example, my audience instead of you are students of class 5. Shall I use the same symbol or shall I use the same words? No. Why not? because a class 5 students would have much inferior understanding than a student of BBA first semester, or at least it can be expected that a BBA first semester students would have a superior understanding. So therefore, I being a sender have to consider who is on the receiving side. If the person who is in the receiving side is not considered, then there is either no response or wrong response. Here you need to understand that both no response as well as a wrong response is something that you actually do not want from the process of communication. You want, or the sender wants, that in the process of communication, he gets an appropriate feedback from the receiver. Now, there is an element of understanding of communication. Sharing of understanding is possible only when the person to whom the message is being transmitted, that is the receiver, understands it in the same sense as the sender wants him to. Now, as I have told you that largely it is being accepted that communication is a process. So contemporary communication theorists have developed a transactional process model. It is been said transaction means that there is an element of mutuality, there is an element of reciprocity. Reciprocity means that both are indulging in the process of communication at the same time, simultaneously. So there are some elements, we will make a discussions of these elements also. First comes sender. Okay. What I have told till this point is we are trying to emphasize on the meaning of communication, but you need to understand that we are just not understanding communication without the context of a subject, because the subject that we are studying is management. So we are actually studying business communication. From the organizational context, the sender can be the superior, the sender can be the subordinate, or sender can be a peer. Peer means someone who is at the same level. Now, the organizational position of the sender will determine the direction. Say, for example, the sender is the subordinate and the receiver is the superior. That means the communication is flowing from the subordinate to the superior. That means it has adopted a upward direction, because the subordinate is at the bottom and the superior is at the top. So we will refer to such type of communication as an upward communication. On the other hand, if the sender is at the top and if the receiver is at the bottom, that means if the sender is the superior, the receiver is the subordinate, then it has adopted a downward flow. So we will consider that to be a downward communication. Now, as I have told you, message is the subject matter of the communication. Now, the subject matter can be anything. It can be an opinion, it can be feelings, it can be views, orders. It is probably mistakenly understood that message has to be an information. It may not be an information also. It may be an opinion also. It may be feelings also. It may be just an emotion also. So message is the subject matter that the sender sends to the receiver. Then comes encoding. Now, encoding is very important because try to understand this particular fact, that when the sender has created a message, it is in the mind of the sender. Now, the mind cannot be read by the receiver. So to understand what is in the mind of the sender, he has to use a symbol, as I have told you. Now, this conversion of the message which was actually in the mind of the sender into an appropriate and meaningful symbol by which the receiver will understand is called the process of encoding. So encoding is an activity that is actually done by the sender, because the sender is converting the message that is in his mind into an appropriate symbol by which he will express himself. Now, the symbol can either be words or the symbol can be a gesture. For example, the meaning may be same, but the symbol may be different. For example, as I have told you that a teacher enters the class, arrives at the class and puts his finger at the lips. Now, this indicates that he wants the students to be silent. Either he can express his message in this way, or he can come and actually use the words by saying that please be silent. Both means the same thing, but the symbols in these two circumstances are different. In one, there is a use of words. In another, there is a use of gesture. But whatever be the case, the symbols have to be meaningful, because if it is not meaningful, then it will not be correctly understood by the receiver. Now, message which are converted into symbols are actually transmitted to the receiver by using a device. For example, when you are writing something, you may be making the use of a letter or making the use of a document. When you are writing it in an electronic mail, you are actually making the use of internet. When you are speaking it out directly, then you are making use of face-to-face conversation, or you can make use of telephone also. Now, the use or the selection of the channel will depend upon the situation. For example, the principal of the college wants to notify something so that every one of the college, every students of the college becomes aware of it. What he will do is he will notify it in the notice board. Nowadays, the notice board have become online, but at one point of time, the notice board used to be, used to be the blackboards where the notices are written in chalk. So he will notify it. Why? Because here the receivers is a group, and the group contains many students. But say, for example, the principal wants to communicate something personally to a student. He will not notify in the notice board. Why? Because here he will either make use of telephone by calling him, or he will make use of the face-to-face conversation. Now, receiver is the person to whom the message is sent. You can understand that if, say, for example, sender is the superior, then the receiver will be the subordinates. Now, just like as I have told you that the organizational position of the superior will determine the flow, the organizational position of the receiver will also do the same. Decoding is an activity that is done by the receiver. So decoding is just the reverse of encoding. In decoding, the receiver converts the communication into message. So like encoding, decoding should also be meaningful so that the receiver understands the message in the same sense as it is intended by the sender. Then comes feedback. Now, feedback in communication is required to ensure that the receiver has received the message and understood it in the same sense as it is intended by the sender. So the sender of the message will chalk out his actions according to the feedback he receives from the receiver. Or you can say that feedback is something that will energize the whole process of communication. Say, for example, the sender has said something or asked a question to the receiver. The receiver does not respond at all. Then the process of communication becomes slow. Or say, for example, the receiver takes time to respond. Then the process of communication will become slow. To hasten up the process, what you need to do to hasten up the process, the feedback that is sent by the receiver to the sender must be at the time, at an appropriate time, or whenever a question is being asked to the receiver should send a feedback. Then after that, the sender will determine what will be his next course of action. For example, a student is in front of the teacher. The teacher asks the students, does he understand? Now, if he says yes, then also the next course of action will be determined by the teacher. If he says no, then also he will chalk out his action that he has to make the student understand. But if the student does not respond at all, then the process of communication will become slow. So feedback is something that energizes the whole process of communication. So this is the way by which we have completed the first part of business communication, the first part. What I have generally done is that I have actually, categorized the first unit into 4 parts. So this is the first part. I will time to time on subsequent days, I will send next part also. And by that, I can complete the first unit of business communication. So as I have told you that, please ensure that you are going through the discussions, listening to the discussions, apart from going through the notes as well. So I hope that you will complete it as soon as possible. I will come up with the next part of the discussions within few days. Till then, thank you very much, and please keep on studying. Thank you.